Before we dive into today's companion biography, make sure to pay close attention and watch until the very end. We have a challenge for you, a question that will put your understanding of the events and information in this video to the test. So, make sure to stay tuned and don't miss a second, because you'll want to answer in the comments once the video is over. Also, you can join us on this journey, and kindly hit that subscribe button to show your support. Your encouragement drives us to continue our work in bringing these Islamic biographies to life. If I had taken anyone as my closest friend, I would have taken Abu Bakr, but he is my brother and companion. These are the words of Prophet Muhammad, may God shower him with praises, and Abu Bakr was his closest earthly companion. Abdullah bin Abi Quafa, or Abu Bakr, was known as Siddiq, the truthful. The Arabic word Siddiq implies more than lack of deceit, it indicates a person in a constant state of truthfulness. One who recognizes the truth and adheres to it. The word Siddiq implies truthfulness to oneself, those around us, and most importantly to God. Abu Bakr was such a man. Prophet Muhammad showed his great love and respect for Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, by associating him with the concept of the closest friend. In Arabic, the word used is Khalil, and it denotes more than friendship, rather a heartfelt closeness with an unbreakable connection. Prophet Abraham was known as the Khalil of Allah, and Prophet Muhammad himself reserved this word for his relationship with God, but his connection with Abu Bakr involved a special rapport. The sayings of Prophet Muhammad and the history of Islam tell us that Abu Bakr was born a little over 2 years after Prophet Muhammad, and that both were born into the tribe of Quraysh, although into different clans. Abu Bakr was born into a reasonably well-off family and established himself as a successful trader and merchant. He was a likable, approachable man who had a large social network. Abu Bakr loved to talk and communicate with all those around him and was an expert in Arab genealogy. He knew the names and locations of all the Arab tribes and understood their good and bad qualities. It was this knowledge that allowed him to mix easily with many diverse people and command a great deal of influence in Meccan society. Most of Prophet Muhammad's early life was spent in relative poverty, while Abu Bakr came from a reasonably well-off family. But when Prophet Muhammad married his first wife Khadija, may Allah be pleased with her, he and Abu Bakr became neighbors and found that they shared many of the same characteristics. Both the Prophet and Abu Bakr were traders, and both conducted their affairs with honesty and integrity. Both Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr avoided the vice and corruption that abounded in pre-Islamic Arabia, and both avoided idolatry. They recognized each other as kindred spirits and struck up a lifelong friendship. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the first person to heed Prophet Muhammad's message and enter into Islam. When he heard Prophet Muhammad say that there was nothing worthy of worship but God and that he, Muhammad, was the messenger of God, Abu Bakr accepted Islam without any reservations. For everybody else who comes to Islam or rekindles lost faith, there is an obstacle, a moment of hesitation, but not for Abu Bakr. The sweetness of faith entered his heart, and the one known as the truthful recognized the truth. In the early days when the message was first revealed, Prophet Muhammad called the people around him to Islam in secret. Prophet Muhammad knew that his message would shock and dismay the Meccans, who were deeply entrenched in ignorance. He wanted to build a band of followers who would slowly deliver the message, spreading out in ever-increasing circles. When there were 38 Muslims, Abu Bakr went to his beloved friend Prophet Muhammad and said he wanted to proclaim the message in public. Prophet Muhammad refused, thinking the numbers too small to risk exposure. Abu Bakr insisted and kept mentioning this to his companion. When Prophet Muhammad was ordered by God to make his message public, he and Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, made their way to the Kaaba, the house of God in the center of Mecca. Abu Bakr stood up and proclaimed in a loud voice, "There is none worthy of worship but God, and Muhammad is his slave and messenger." Abu Bakr was the first public speaker for Islam. When Prophet Muhammad died, the Muslims were devastated, some even refused to accept the truth. Their hearts were broken. Although overwhelmed by grief, Abu Bakr addressed the people. He praised and glorified God and said, "Whoever worshipped Muhammad, then Muhammad is dead, but whoever worshipped God, then God is ever living and shall never die." He then recited verses from Quran.
وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِن قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِن مَّاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ وَمَن يَنقَلِبْ عَلَى عَقِبَيْهِ فَلَن يَضُرَّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا وَسَيَجْزِي اللَّهُ الشَّاكِرِينَ.
During this great crisis, the devastated Muslims chose Abu Bakr as their leader. He was the first caliph, leader of the Muslims. Prophet Muhammad's nephew, Ali ibn Abu Talib, praised Abu Bakr as the first person to enter Islam and the first to perform any good deeds. In Islam, competing with one another to do good deeds is not only acceptable but also encouraged. Prophet Muhammad exhorted his followers to behave easily in the affairs of this world, but to race with one another towards everlasting life in paradise. Muslim historian, At-Tabarani, quotes righteous companion Ibn Abbas as saying, Abu Bakr excelled all the companions of Prophet Muhammad in piety and righteousness, renunciation of worldly goods and reliance upon God. From the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, we learn that Abu Bakr will be the first person to enter paradise after the prophets of God. His daughter Aisha, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with her, narrated that in all of his life, Abu Bakr never prostrated to an idol. Abu Bakr himself relates that when he was a child, his father took him to the place of idols and left him there amongst the statues. The young boy looked at the inanimate objects surrounding him and asked them what benefit they could be to him. When the idols were unable to respond, Abu Bakr decided that he would not worship something that could not hear or see. He innately understood that statues and idols were not worthy of worship. Abu Bakr's love for the one true God and his support for his friend Muhammad meant that in the early days of Islam, he was often persecuted and mercilessly beaten. The majority of Meccans hated to hear Muhammad's message of reform and reckoning. They were the guardians of idolatry, and a great deal of revenue was made from the pilgrims visiting one or more of the idols worshipped in and around Mecca. If Muhammad succeeded in uniting the people in the worship of one God, and if their ways of corruption were eradicated, their lives would be irreversibly changed. The shocking treatment, torture, and brutality directed against the Muslims meant that Prophet Muhammad sent many of them away for their own protection. The second of two migrations was to the nearby city of Yathrib, later to be named Medina. Although often called a flight, it was in reality a carefully planned migration. Two tribes from Yathrib had negotiated a treaty with Prophet Muhammad and offered him their allegiance and protection, but at this stage, Prophet Muhammad had not been given permission by Allah to leave Mecca. He did, however, send his followers to Yathrib in groups, small enough not to attract the attention of the Meccans. One day in the heat of the noonday sun, Prophet Muhammad visited the home of his friend Abu Bakr. The streets of Mecca were deserted, and Abu Bakr knew this visit of great importance. This time of day was reserved for rest. Prophet Muhammad asked Abu Bakr to empty your house, meaning that he had something important and private to discuss. Abu Bakr replied, "This is your family." Prophet Muhammad went inside and revealed to his friend that God had given him permission to leave Mecca. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, narrates that her father wept when he heard that he was to be Prophet Muhammad's companion on the journey. Abu Bakr wept not from fear, although the journey would be fraught with danger, but from sheer joy. This was an opportunity for him to spend more than 10 days traveling alone with his dearest companion. It was an opportunity to spend many days and nights drinking from the fountain of prophethood. Abu Bakr announced that he had camels prepared and ready to go, for he too had been waiting for his companion Muhammad, peace be upon him, to be given the permission to leave. That night the two friends left through the back door and walked into the black desert landscape. When the Meccans realized that Prophet Muhammad had escaped Mecca, thereby eluding their plans to kill him, they were furious. Search parties immediately began to scour the surrounding areas. Although they suspected that Prophet Muhammad was heading for Yathrib, they sent scouts in every direction. Abu Bakr and Prophet Muhammad spent 3 days hiding in a cave called Thor, south of Mecca. At one stage, a search party came so close to the entrance of their cave Abu Bakr could see their shoes above him. He was filled with fear and trepidation, not for himself, for he was a courageous man, but for his beloved friend. Abu Bakr whispered, "Messenger of God, if they look down towards their feet, they will see us." Prophet Muhammad replied, "Abu Bakr, what do you think of two people with whom God is the third?" God revealed the following verse of the Quran in response to this poignant moment.
إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم.
The angry and frantic Meccans stood outside the cave but did not enter. A spider had spun a delicate web across the entrance to the cave, making it appear that no one had entered the cave in a very long time. Abu Bakr understood from his beloved friend's words that the power of God is often found manifest in the least expected places. A tiny, fragile spider spinning a web of concealment was mightier than an army. Abu Bakr, the first man to enter Islam, became one of two friends united on a mission, bound by their love for each other and for the fledgling Muslim nation, strengthened by their love of the one true God. Abu Bakr was a man of shrewd judgment. He was able to discern the truth when others were muddled by the complexities of a situation. Thus, he found it very easy to see the truth in Islam but realized that the words of Muhammad would cause a rift in Meccan society. The leaders of Mecca would not tolerate anything that put their economic situation or lifestyles in jeopardy. Abu Bakr, may Allah be pleased with him, knew that difficult times lay ahead and felt it was his duty to protect his companion, Prophet Muhammad. The two friends saw each other every day, and their friendship grew stronger as their understanding of Islam grew and took root in their hearts. For 3 years Islam blossomed in secret. The new Muslims spread the message of Islam through a network of trusted friends and families, but the time came when God commanded Prophet Muhammad to spread the message in public. Abu Bakr understood that life would become difficult as the leaders of Mecca realized how many people were accepting Islam. He knew that Prophet Muhammad would require his protection, but over the months, Abu Bakr also took on the role of protector for many new Muslims. As more and more people converted to Islam, the non-Muslim leaders of Mecca began a campaign of persecution and abuse designed to destroy the new faith. Most of the men, women, and children from the tribes of Mecca had the protection of their families, but the slaves and the poor were particularly vulnerable. It was the slaves and the destitute that were particularly attracted to the teachings of Islam. They heard the words of justice, freedom, and the mercy of the one true God and saw it as a way to escape the brutality of their existence and find comfort in the forgiveness and love of God. They learned that all men were slaves of God and that He offered guidance and protection to all, not just the elite classes. Abu Bakr was a rich merchant and was able to ease the suffering of many slaves by buying them from their masters and setting them free. Among the slaves set free by Abu Bakr was Bilal, may Allah be pleased with him, the man destined to become the first man to call the faithful to prayer. Bilal's master would make him lie on burning sand and have large slabs of rock placed on his chest, but he refused to give up his new faith. When Abu Bakr heard of Bilal's condition, he raced to free him. In all, Abu Bakr freed 8 slaves, 4 men and 4 women. Although the buying and freeing of slaves was not unknown in Meccan society, it was usually done for far less altruistic reasons. Once a slave was freed, he was honor-bound to offer his protection to the one who freed him, and for these reasons, the rich Meccans would free slaves that were physically fit and strong. Abu Bakr freed slaves for the sake of God, not for himself. One day, when Prophet Muhammad was in the Kaaba, house of God, the Meccans surrounded him and started taunting and verbally abusing him, and very quickly it escalated to physical abuse. Someone informed Abu Bakr that his companion was in need of his assistance, so he rushed to the Kaaba and pushed into the middle of the fight, placing himself between Prophet Muhammad and his attackers. He cried out, "Would you kill a man for saying that Allah is his Lord?" The Meccans were momentarily stunned, but within seconds they fell upon Abu Bakr and beat him mercilessly. The beating was so severe that the blood flowed from his head and clotted his hair. On another occasion, when the Prophet was praying, one of the Meccan elites threw a piece of cloth around his neck and began to strangle him. Although people could see what was happening, nobody was courageous enough to come to Prophet Muhammad's rescue. When Abu Bakr entered the Kaaba and saw his friend's predicament, he rushed over and fought off the attacker. A story that comes from Ali ibn Abu Talib epitomizes Abu Bakr's reputation as a quiet achiever who never put his own needs first and was devoted to Islam and its messenger, Prophet Muhammad. When Ali was the leader of the Muslims, many years after the deaths of both Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr, he made a speech in which he inquired of his audience, "Who is the most courageous man in Islam?" The audience responded, "You." Amir al-Mu'mineen, leader of the faithful, Ali had a fierce reputation as a warrior and brave fighter. He looked at the men seated before him and said, "It is true I have never faced an opponent and lost, but I am not the most courageous. That honor belongs to Abu Bakr." Ali went on to relate that in the Battle of Badr, the first battle the fledgling Muslim nation faced, the Muslims refused to let Prophet Muhammad be in the front lines and instead built a shelter for him at the back. The men were asked who would volunteer to guard the Prophet, but none would step forward except Abu Bakr. Prophet Muhammad stayed in the shelter for some time, praying for the success of his small nation, and Abu Bakr could be seen walking back and forth, his sword unsheathed, ready to repel any threat to his beloved companion. Later in the battle, Prophet Muhammad led the center battalion and Abu Bakr the right flank. They were friends united in all circumstances, in times of ease or hardship. Abu Bakr is an example of a courageous man prepared to use his wealth, abilities, and strength in the service of Islam and ready to give up his life for the sake of God or to protect God's messenger. Ali ibn Abu Talib also gave Abu Bakr's funeral oration. The following passages are just a small sample of his words of praise for Prophet Muhammad's closest companion. You supported him when others had deserted him, and you remained firm in helping him in misfortunes when others had withdrawn their support. You had the lowest voice but the highest distinction. Your conversation was most exemplary and your reasoning most just, your silence was longest in duration, and your speech was most eloquent. Bravest among men, and well-informed about matters, your action was dignified. Thus was Abu Bakr, the protector. With the death of Muhammad, the Muslim community was faced with the problem of succession. Who would be its leader? There were 4 persons obviously marked for leadership: Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who had not only accompanied Muhammad to Medina 10 years before but had been appointed to take the place of the Prophet as leader of the public prayer during Muhammad's last illness; Umar ibn al-Khattab, an able and trusted companion of the Prophet; Uthman ibn Affan, a respected early convert; and Ali ibn Abi Talib, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law. Their piousness and ability to govern the affairs of the Islamic nation was uniformly par excellence. At a meeting held to decide the new leadership, Omar grasped Abu Bakr's hand and gave his allegiance to him, the traditional sign of recognition of a new leader. By dusk, everyone concurred, and Abu Bakr had been recognized as the Khalifa of Muhammad. Khalifa, anglicized as Caliph, is a word meaning successor, but also suggesting what his historical role would be, to govern according to the Quran and the practice of the Prophet. Abu Bakr's caliphate was short, but important. An exemplary leader, he lived simply, assiduously fulfilled his religious obligations, and was accessible and sympathetic to his people. But he also stood firm when some tribes, who had only nominally accepted Islam, renounced it in the wake of the Prophet's death. In what was a major accomplishment, Abu Bakr swiftly disciplined them. Later, he consolidated the support of the tribes within the Arabian Peninsula and subsequently funneled their energies against the powerful empires of the East, the Sassanians in Persia and the Byzantines in Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. In short, he demonstrated the viability of the Muslim state. In the last months of his caliphate, he sent Khalid ibn al-Walid on conquests against the Sassanid Empire in Mesopotamia and against the Byzantine Empire in Syria. This would set in motion a historical trajectory, continued later on by Omar and Uthman ibn Affan, that in just a few short decades would lead to one of the largest empires in history. He had little time to pay attention to the administration of the state, though state affairs remained stable during his caliphate. On the advice of Omar and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, he agreed to draw a salary from the state treasury and discontinue his cloth trade. Abu Bakr, peace be upon him, played a crucial role in the preservation of the Quran in written form after the Battle of Yamama against Musaylima the Liar, the leader of the renegades, where many Muslims who memorized the Quran were killed. Umar requested Abu Bakr to compile the scriptures into written format, which Abu Bakr agreed to after some hesitation. Zayd ibn Thabit was appointed to gather the scattered verses and transcribe them onto sheets, which was verified with Quran memorizers. The final product, the Mushaf, was presented to Abu Bakr and later bequeathed to Umar and then to Hafsa. The Mushaf served as the basis for Uthman's definitive text of the Quran, which all later editions are derived from. Abu Bakr fell sick one day and did not recover. He developed a high fever and was confined to bed. His illness was prolonged, and when his condition worsened, he felt that his end was near. Realizing this, he sent for Ali and requested him to perform his ghusl, a form of ablution, or bath done to the people who pass away, which involves cleansing a body of impurities. Abu Bakr appointed Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, for doing it for him since he had also done it for the Prophet Muhammad. Abu Bakr felt that he should nominate his successor so that the issue should not be a cause of dissension among the Muslims after his death, though there was already controversy over Ali not having been appointed. He appointed Omar for this role after discussing the matter with some companions. Some of them favored the nomination and others disliked it, due to the tough nature of Omar, may Allah be pleased with him. Though the period of Abu Bakr as Siddiq's caliphate covers only 2 years, 2 months, and 15 days, it included successful invasions of the 2 most powerful empires of the time, the Persian Empire and the Byzantine Empire. Abu Bakr had the distinction of being the first caliph in the history of Islam and also the first caliph to nominate a successor. He was the only caliph in the history of Islam who refunded to the state treasury at the time of his death the entire amount of the allowance that he had drawn during the period of his caliphate. May Allah have mercy on Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and may He Almighty be pleased with him and all the honorable companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. What is the name of the famous cave where Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, took refuge during their migration to Medina? Ready to showcase your knowledge? Prove it by answering the question in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to show your support for our As-Sahaba channel.